like, this is their last generation. We talk about things that are progressive values at the moment in society. And if this is progressive, where people are sicker, fatter, weaker, more mentally ill than ever, more divorce from family, the birth rate's at 1.3, which is the lowest in history. We can't even replace our own population. How is that progressive? Progressive. We're destroying our society. I'm like, this is their last generation. They'll breed themselves out. And so I'm not really worried about it. So by the time the next generation comes in, they're going to be gone. This belief system will just like work its way out because traditional people that have families have, Christian values and family values and are connected to conservative ideas. They're the ones that have children. You look at that, that propagates the species. That's in line with nature. That's continuity. Nature only has one motivation, that's to continue. It's procreation. So if you're part of a death cult which promotes, terminating children, not having families, all of that, you're not in line with nature. So nature goes, all right, cool, just wipe you out.
Got to stop having your soy lattes then, you reckon?
I don't drink soy latte. Never have.
It's an oat latte,
Yeah.
Luke. Get it right. It's an oatmeal.
You still on the plant-based diet, Luke? 8 years plant-based.
Talking about, bro.
You can't tell that you guys have been mates for a while.
Yeah. Soy-based lifestyle.
Yeah, nice. Hey, Luke, what's it like being a dad?
Bro, where do you even begin with that, my friend? It's yeah, people say it's the most testing but the most rewarding. I don't know about testing, but it is the most rewarding, brother. It's the best thing of all time, eh? It's everything. Every time I leave the room, and not that I forget about it, but then you walk back in, it's like, whoa, it's legit. She's here again, and it's like my life just started all over again.
Surreal.
It's been unbelievable, but the pregnant, like the labor, that was just like I saw you a few nights before that, Adrian. I was like, why didn't that
Mm.
bro like give me some sort of warning about that's what goes on? Like, I suppose you can't even explain like it. Man, I had lockjaw. I just got over lockjaw from it, bro. I had like,
Sorry,
yeah.
I shouldn't laugh.
Sorry, sorry about wifey going through that, bro. I had lockjaw. Like I
Really
was
still picking your chin up off the floor after the whole thing was happening, right?
just tense like that. Like I was
Oh,
convinced.
shit.
I was convinced for 12 hours that we weren't having our baby. Well, there was some complications there, and so you ever started laboring at like it was like she came in at night at like midnight, and she was like shivering. I'm like, "Fuck, you all good? What's going on?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm just been shivering." Checked, yeah, form of thing. So me jumping straight in the mode. I'm like, "Oh, pull, boom, boom." I'm like straight into it, and we call the doula. It was like 1 o'clock by now, and she answers after a while. She's like, "Guys, remember what we spoke about in the pre-labor plan?" She goes, there's gonna be pre-labor, like there might be some soft contraction." She goes, "That's when I need you guys to rest. You guys are going to be resting during that point because when it's game time, you need your energy. It might take up to 24 hours because usually people get their contractions straight to the hospital and then they're being there for 12, 24 hours and they're spent and then they get the C-section because they've spent. And she goes, "Look, we want to, I know your birth plan. So we guys go back to bed." I'm like, "Well, I'll go like the pool. I'll go like the hose in the pool." Like, "You guys, I need you guys to go back to bed." I'm like, "Okay, sweet. Let's go." So we went back to bed and do you guys want to hear this? Like it's gonna
Yeah. I was going to say start from the beginning because I know that the story was pretty intense. What I've read on Instant, I've been really wanting to hear it from you.
Man, it was ruthless. But even just leading up to it, like the last few weeks leading up to it, because we went down to Sydney to have the home birth, just in case we did have to transfer to hospital, right? Because where we live is remote. It's like 2 hours away from the nearest hospital. So we relocated to Sydney. Anyways, but the pressure even leading up to that, because the idea of getting to 40 weeks is late, and then going past that, and people are like, "Oh, you got to induce, you've got to, X, Y, Z," and we are in our faith with God and knowing our birth plan, knowing our crew, and knowing, yeah, but it's health, we're in a solid space, you know, but just getting, bro, the pressure, the stress, the expectation, and then every day felt like a marathon in itself, you know, because like maybe it's today and it wasn't, and then just the expectation of it all, but then just going back to, you know, trusting the timing. Anyway, so the night that it happens, we've already been in Sydney for like 6 weeks and we're due to stay there for 7. You know, we thought, you know, baby will come on time and then we have 3 weeks after, you know. No, didn't happen. So the night of, Yeva comes in, and then the next morning we had a couple of hours sleep and we wake up, and then Yeva's starts coming on, like it starts coming on more and more and more. And I was like, fuck, this is game time, you know. And so we called the doula and let her know what's happening. She was great. It sounds, you know, today's the day. It sounds like today's the day. Beautiful. And then they started getting heavier and heavier, and I'm like, does she get a rest? I'm like, does this happen? Like, and I was like, she's got to go through this. So every couple, like I'm ignorant. I'm just this man that sees it on TV or see a documentary every now and again. Every few minutes, she's just going through the biggest pain of all time, and by the time she's recovered from that, they go again.
Happens again.
And I'm like, and I'm just, you know, being with her, massaging her, doing that thing. And then they started coming on heavier, heavier, heavier. And she's like, and I'm like, boom. So doula comes. And then after about 3 hours, 4 hours of this, uh, she has a shower. She puts her in the shower. She was in incredibly like big pain. And so the doula goes, "Well, have a warm shower. It's a bit of a natural painkiller, right? A hot shower." So she gets in there, but that's sort of slowed down the contractions. Okay, but then she gets back on that. It was a whole different world, mate. We're out in the lounge room where there was one world, and then she'd have to go to the toilet, and then we'd have to go there, and she was like reverse cowgirling the toilet to sit on. Like, that's how it was, right? Just to get comfortable with a pillow on the thing, right? And then she'd go. It was just in everything was just different world. So then contractions slow, but then the midwife rocks up. The midwife goes, "Look, yeah," because Yeva was there was some movements that weren't she couldn't really feel much movement. The movements had changed, and she was worried. So we speak to the midwife, and the midwife goes, "Look, guys, I can come check, and then I'll take off." Because the midwife, it's, you know, again, me not knowing this sort of stuff, the doula is there for the support, the emotional stuff, the softness, the holding the hand, all that sort of stuff. But the midwife's there when it's game time, and she doesn't want to be there all day to then have to be tired at the end of it when there's a life or death decision that she has to make. She wants to come when it's near game time because she wants to be clear, fresh, ready to go. So she's more of a sort of masculine style that makes the stuff happen, make the big decisions where the doula is the more feminine, soft, be there for her. And I'm just there doing everything, like trying to hold my shit together myself. And I'm looking back on photos, bro. I look back at photos and videos of us, and you know, for myself, I was going through it, mate. Like I was going in the other room every now and again, just getting on my knees, please, Lord, crying, but then going back. And I look bored in some of the photos, but internally, I was just like, you, it was heavy. Anyways, the midwife comes, and every time she put the heart, the Doppler, I think it is, the heart rate thing on, that was like the determining factor, how the baby is, any stress levels, where the baby's positioned, X, Y. So every time she put the thing on, my heart rate stopped, right? It's just like waiting for the heart rate, waiting for the heart rate, right? And then boom, gets it. Well, she goes, it seems like contractions are slowed down. Baby's not in the best position. Apparently, there was the baby turned. So in my head, Yeva goes to the toilet, and I go to the midwife, is everything okay? She goes, yes and no. And I'm like, boom, like, what do you mean and no? So then in my head, I've convinced myself that because the doula put her in the shower and slowed contractions down, she's ruined it and she's going to kill our baby. That's what I had in my head. Like, it was just like, it was unbelievable, mate. So for hours, and my parents lost their firstborn as well. Like, and so during pregnancy, like just after, and in my head, I'm like, is that initiation I have to go through to be like, to connect? And I'm just massive, mate. It was unbelievable. So then hours and hours passed, and she goes to check the heart rate, and I see so by now the other midwife rocks up because there needs to be two towards the back end, and I see the other midwife when she hears the heart rate, she goes like pulls his face and like not good, and you could hear it in the heart rate. It wasn't good. It sped up like a massive amount, and I go to she goes, Yeba, baby's not in the best position. The baby's stressed. We need like a Hollywood style push just to get her out of just to get the baby. We didn't know it was a girl at the time, just to get out of the position. And again, in my head, I'm convinced we're not having our baby. I could picture you ever going back to Lithuania, our marriage breaking down, you ever getting whatever it is, her getting depressed and down, and us losing. Like it was huge, mate. So, like I said, I'm tense the whole time. So then they go to you, yeah, well, we need you to get down in like a squat to open up your hips. We need to open up your hips a bit. We need to get you opened up to get this baby out of this position. So you ever like gave it a big push, and then she got the Doppler again, and the heart rate was back, right? I'm like, thank you. But they go, yeah, but we need to get this baby out. You know, we need to get this baby and out. Like I said, our birth plan, we didn't want to transfer to hospital. We didn't want to C-section. We didn't want to all that. So they go, we need to get down in a sling to open up your hips to move around. And you ever kept going over there? And she was gone, bro. It's been over like 15 hours about this point, 16 hours of just intensity. And she was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And she's crying. Oh, baby, we need you to get you down in this squat. And she looks at me and I say a Bible verse. Like, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. She just looks at me, bro. Oh, it still gets me now. She just drops down in this squat, starts opening up. And she's screaming like the whole street. She could hear she's screaming in pain, and the midwives are like encouraging her, and I'm just keep reading Bible verses. And then we go out onto the couch, and I look at and I'm holding her, I'm cradling her. I look over, and the doula, who isn't a believer in terms of Christianity, I see her flipping through the Bible. I'm like, yeah, you see, like she's like, there's got to be something in this after seeing that, you know. So then I'm holding on to a man, and behind her like this. The midwife, number one, down between her legs with a torch in her mouth, pushing ligaments, pushing muscle, bro, like to get this, like that, with a torch, signaling to the other one, pull that leg over there. It needs to be more external rotation at the side of her mouth, where the other doula's got a hip up like that. It was just intense. And these
Wow.
women and my wife, like, I speak about resilience. I've said it in the past. I speak about resilience at schools, but I feel like a fraud after witnessing what what I went through with those women. I was like, oh, what? And then and I see that by now she's turned over on all fours, and I'm cradling her. And the midwife, I can see her like reefing, like I'm going, what is she doing? But bro, I look at it, she's got like the head, and she's just going boom, boom, and just drops her out, slides her through Yeva's legs. Bub comes up, and I looked at before I even acknowledged my baby. I was in awe of my wife, mate. I was just like, I can't believe you just did that. Like 24 hours of that, I can't. And then I was like, for 8, we didn't even look at the sex out, boy or girl. We didn't even. I was like, didn't even care. It was like the most incredible experience of my life, and the most traumatic as well, but the best thing I've ever experienced, mate. And then from there, it's just been growing every single day, the love, support, and seeing my wife just step into this just incredible mother of just so giving, feeding all the time, up at night with breastfeeding, feeding on demand, they call it, whatever it is, bub in the bed with us, and it's so special, hey, the best.
It's incredible,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah. Sorry for hijacking the thing, guys.
That's good. That's good, bro. I'm happy for you, man. I think there's like, if there was ever a disbelief in any kind of miracle of creation, yeah, that would dispel anything, right?
Mate, unbelievable. And then again, then check it's like a second birth, the placenta.
Yeah.
Like she's already spent, she's on her back, gone skis, but then the placenta's that big. It's like having another baby.
Yeah, still not over.
And when it came out, there was like a blood clot or something behind it. So she just went blood all over the midwife. The lounge room was like a horror scene, like a murder scene, I should say.
Yeah.
Like we had cops everywhere because it was an Airbnb. It was off its head, eh? Amazing, but the best thing of all time, as you know, Adrian. And you soon, my friend Jag.
Yeah, I can't wait. Man, I had goosebumps listening to that, man.
Mhm.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I've got no experience there, so I don't want to dilute that experience with any opinion, but thanks for sharing, man. I respect and like so happy for you as well to see you in that and go through. I know like since we met, like that's what you were looking for, 5 years ago or something like that. And yeah, this makes me happy to see it for you, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I think as men, we all inherently want that, and that's the thing that we want, but the world just grabs us on different paths, and or wants to pull us away from it, or different, I suppose different agendas being pushed, whatever it is. But yeah, I think inherently we always want that. We just got to tap into that to step up, I think.
Mm.
Mm. Look, I think it's a part of purpose and contribution and being useful and having a meaning in life.
Mm.
Like it just adds that extra dimension and layer to why you do the things that you do. Not that it wasn't there before, but it's just I don't know, a level or a depth that is only realized when you're in it, right? So now the paradigm of the world changes. You've got a whole new purpose for living.
Yeah, my dad said leading up to it, like when I went out there, he goes, mate, it's not going to be about you anymore. Yeah, it's not about you anymore. I was like, thank God, I'm over my shit. Like, it's great. I can just focus on my family and put everything into them. So yeah, you're right. It's a new purpose and a blessing.
How does that make you feel, Jag, when you like what's changed in your life? You've sort of from what I can tell from the socials and things like that, like your world is vastly different relationally, and I'm keen to hear your perspective on how maybe your mindset and your view of the world's changed over the last 12 months since we last talked.
Yeah, speaking to what Lukey said, it's such a good transition into that conversation. My experience is always, I've had a lot of women around. It's like endless options, and we see this in society that's kind of celebrated. You're a high value male or whatever bullshit terms, or an alpha if you've got a lot of women around you. And since I deeply committed to Joelle, my woman, I've never felt so much freedom. Like all that stuff of just having heaps of women and options all the time, man, it's just I I don't know. I didn't it's kind of like you don't know until you're in it, and you really have to be in it, and you can't fake it. You can't bullshit your way through it. But when you actually deeply commit and go, no, this is the one I'm going to commit to, it changes everything. There's more freedom in that than having lots of options. I actually think having lots of options is such a waste of time. It's distracting, it's anxiety inducing, it's stress inducing. It's like walking around with a boulder chained to your neck that you don't even know is there.
Mm.
And so when you and I, a kind of the stereotype of when you know, I never really believed that, but now that I'm in it, you just know and you go, oh, it's like a weight drops off you. That's the way that I've experienced it. And deeply committing and having someone that's deeply committed to you, one of the big things that I saw was a major change is you actually want to pour emotional nutrients into the other person for the betterment of them after you, rather than where we see everywhere on social media now is I got to get my needs met, my needs, my needs, my needs. This is all about me. And if you don't, I'm just going to go find someone who can meet every one of my demands.
Mm.
And the beautiful thing about it is where I've seen the shift for me is, and I was just saying this morning to Joelle, we were talking about issues in relationships, and we don't have any issues. It's not that we don't disagree, but we don't have any pervasive issues.
Mm.
And we were just talking about that. And I said, that's because we both want the best for the other person with ourselves aside. Like I put myself aside, and Lukey said it so perfectly. It's like, thank God I'm not the fucking top of my life anymore. I've got her to look after, I've got to provide. And it feels good to not be at the top of my list, like the gorilla up the top that's like going, me, beating my chest, going, it's all about me. So I know I've got to look after my woman now and care for her health to make sure her health is good so we can have a child that's healthy. It's so much better and so much more freeing.
Well
So
said,
much more
bro.
freeing.
Love that, man. So true, brother. Yeah.
What
So
was
yeah,
the worst version of yourself, do you think, in relationship? Like what was I don't know, maybe the biggest challenge that you think now that in retrospect you can kind of acknowledge of this was all on me. I was thinking maybe the problem was externally or the problem was in them, but it's actually like it's my own problem. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, the biggest issue, Lukey saw me through this, a previous relationship, but that was also the greatest gift I'd been given because it set me free from that kind of behavior, was just seeking the validation, thinking sex and intensity actually meant something that was real, that intensity represented significance when it didn't, staying in drama-fueled relationships and thinking it was the other person instead of taking responsibility, that my own bullshit was addicted to that. But seeing it from the deeper level as well, that serves an evolutionary purpose to put that behind you. Now when there's some difficulty in my life, I think, what does God want me to leave behind? Because when there's a lot of tension and pressure that's coming in, a part of me wants to get left behind. It's something for me to deal with. So I think it would be, womanizing was a huge problem for me, huge problem. Thinking, and my biggest mistake was sleeping with women I didn't care about, because later on, I wouldn't date the women that I created earlier. And I think that was a really, really poor example of me to do that. And essentially using women for sex. That
Mm.
was a big one for me. And I just, at the time, I just didn't really care. It was just, okay, cool. This woman wants me. This one wants me, whatever. I'll just be that, run multiple women at a time. And that's very much in that evolutionary psychology that men are just supposed to do that. But what they don't take into account is morality. They don't take morality into any form of biological imperative. It's just, that's it. Men are supposed to spread their seed. And it's like, well, that's just being lust driven. And being lust driven is being ruled by an emotion, which is more of a feminine trait. Whereas when you're more contained and grounded and committed, you just go, I'm not doing that. It's really not that difficult once you actually get to the point of having control over it. And so I think, yeah, if I could go back and speak to my younger self, because I realized I've sort of designed and become the person I needed when I was younger. I
Mm.
would say don't sleep with a woman that you don't care about. Just don't do that. That was the biggest mistake that I made.
Mm. That's powerful.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I think there's like there's a when you sort of reduce the maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Like if you reduce the human existence to an animalistic quality, like if you across like sex at dawn and all of these sort of literature to suggest that we're really not as primitive beings, we're really not supposed to be in a monogamous relationship and all the rest of it, and this whole fucking what do they call it, polyamory, and all these shit terms,
Ethical,
for just for
non-monogamous
fucking
and all
around,
this.
non-monogamy and all the rest of it.
Ethical though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
radical
Yeah.
monogamy.
Yeah, sure. And they promote it as it's actually a higher version of evolution because you're dealing with emotions of guilt and shame and lust and all the rest of that shit. But it actually almost poo-poos your consciousness, your higher, that higher consciousness that is only really in the human species, like, and not to say that there are animals that don't choose just one partner, but we have a consciousness that is able to choose, is able to discern from feelings of lust and control and power and ego and things like that. And I think it's quite I don't know if the word's like reductionistic sort of approach to just say that this is our innate instinct, as a human being or even as a male.
Yeah, you well said. And I can speak because I fell in the trap myself. I can only speak like this because it was from experience. I think in the new age world, when I was diving into that, everything is about feeling. If it feels right, do it.
Mm.
And I was amongst it myself, because how many times does lust feel right, and I think in that new age, well, for myself, I speak for myself, but you can create like belief systems, or you can get around certain crews and belief systems to hide away from your sin nature, to hide away from your sin, to try to justify your sin. Because I knew deep down that the women I was sleeping with, yes, I didn't want to, or I did want to, but in deep down, I knew it wasn't the right thing to do, and the way I was treating women, the way I was treating people, the way I was treating myself really wasn't for a greater purpose. But living in that world, you're reading books that justify it. You're hanging out with people that are raising you up because you're doing it. And there's no structure, there's no discipline, there's nothing to stand on. There's nothing to stand on. And things coming into the faith with Christ, we talked about before, loving my wife like Christ loved the church, which is a sacrificial love. A lot of people say that that Christianity is like this system that's pushing down women, but it's not at all. It's raising women up and protecting women. So when they say got to love my wife like Christ loved the church, it's yes, it is a leadership, but also a sacrificial, meaning my wife comes before me actually. But when it comes back to the relationship, I'm the yes, you want to talk about all the masculine stuff. I'm the decision maker, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, whatever. But when it comes down to it, I die for my family. I
Mm.
die for them. So Yeah, that coming into the faith, coming into Christianity and seeing the truth for what it is and seeing the deception I was in, a lot of it was, yeah, just the devil playing his tricks, making you feel good and making you believe that feeling good is the main thing that you want to pursue. Breaking free of that, getting into faith, like I said, it's yeah, structured, discipline, and also conviction. Not and it's it isn't a feel good faith as well because you get convicted of your sin. You get convicted of the things that you've done that you haven't done. And when you step further into faith, it's a quicker conviction. It's like straight away. Even sometimes I'll swear and it's like boom in my head, like, oh, I'll say this, I'll say something crude, boom. So it's yeah, I'm thankful for the convictions and because now it's structure, discipline, and truth.
Mm. Yeah, that's quite powerful. I think I don't know, why do you think that there's such a need for validation, for external validation to
Mm.
seek approval from others, and in particularly, like as we're speaking from the frame of just being men, like I don't know,
Well,
being praised, being respected, being acknowledged, whether it be in business or particularly with women, as I mentioned before. Like, why do you think that is?
well, for myself, I know the path that led me down that because I was an overweight, insecure, my insecurities was the biggest part of seeking validation and respect. And I think a lot of our insec that's where a lot of, men want the, the passion and purpose, all that sort of stuff, but it can become so much due to our insecurities that we're trying to force our way into being this, like the gorilla or the, the most women or the most money or whatever it is, because it comes, anything that we're sort of, projecting to try and make bigger comes from a space of insecurity, I believe. So for myself, I was an overweight kid that, never had, no girl was ever keen on sort of thing. And wasn't keen on myself, anxious, you know, and then coming to be a man and, looking after myself, turning things around, and then all of a sudden, women were keen on me. And I was like, wow, this feels good. Women want me.
Mm.
I must be good looking. I must, whatever it is that pe people like me. So I was pursuing that, being liked, being being somebody that being somebody that I suppose the boys would tap their back whenever they saw the one of the women I was with, and that was all. It was really that was all it was about was feeling wanted, feeling liked, but also having the boys liking me too because of what I did. It was just again all of it was just insecurities, and then just kept building from that. I was positioning myself as a strong man, because I was training and looking after myself and leading and whatever. But it was just a base of insecurity and trying to force myself out of that through external sources rather than turning back in and actually building myself up for a
Mm.
purpose.
Did that worsen for you, Luke? Like, back in the day when you were leading your thug life, like did that worsen as you transitioned from thug life to, a thought leader? Did you feel like on one hand it kind of elevated you and you used your forces for evil and switched them over for forces for good sort of thing? But did that swing in notoriety in external attention, like you would have been acknowledged by everyone through your talks and your schools and social media and the likes and all of those sorts of things, and then you got your bang and bod going on and all the rest of it. Like, do you think that that exacerbated the problem in a sneaky kind of way?
100%, 100%. Yeah. And you say I was doing everything for the good, but there was the evil still lurking behind it, bro.
Yeah.
There
What
was
do you
agenda.
mean?
Well, there was agendas behind everything I was doing, bro. Even and uh, 10 years ago, I started my speaking, and yeah, I'm online, and yeah, I'm a speaker and all that stuff. But there was the agendas behind it of projecting an image of making money, projecting an image of being a strong man, projecting an image of looking good, getting selfies all the time, and all that. And but all of it was for yeah to get a woman, to get to
Sure.
yeah, it was. So the evil. Definitely still lurking, bro. Definitely. And I'm not immune to it now. I'm always ducking, like in terms of women, no way in the world. But the thoughts come in and different, like, where does that come from? Like it's just,
Mhm.
and So yeah, it's a constant battle, bro. And in terms of a spiritual battle, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. There's also, even bro. That being said, I haven't spoken about this, but bringing my daughter back home, uh, I couldn't. Well, I could, but it was just I was in a dark place, bro, for probably about 10 days, man, looking at her all the stuff from my past with women and the way I treated women and just the weak man I was and how I hurt women, in relationships and even out of relationships. It all came up, bro, and I was getting convicted massive. I couldn't even look at my daughter for a while, bro. It was massive.
Yeah.
Hey. Every time I'd look, I thought, bang, what about this? Your phone, your bang. It was just intense, man.
Mm.
A big. And when my daughter came out, like everyone was thinking it was going to be a boy. Everyone was, yeah, boy, 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 boy. Yeah, the way her body's positioned, boy. But then when she came out as a girl, I'm like, I see, I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. And now we're planning on having kids after kids, and I'm like, I swear, I reckon God's just gonna keep giving me girls. Hey, just keep giving me girls. So yeah, it
Teach you a
was.
lesson.
Exactly, my friend.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I should be taught the lesson, mate. Like it was, I've done a lot with my faith, with forgiveness and to be forgiven. With Christ on the cross, I have been forgiven, but the scars are still there. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that.
Mm.
And so, yeah, bro, it was massive. Yeah.
Jack, do you find like a similar, do you resonate with all of that in terms of, your coaching space, you kind of, I think you can delude yourself to think that you're the person that people turn to for advice and you know you can read a person 10 steps ahead of where they're thinking, so you kind of put yourself on a pedestal. But I mean, do you find your mentality of social media likes, views, all of that kind of stuff, is that shifting for you? Are you still falling victim of like getting trapped in that kind of ego space? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. So, no, I actually can't stand the attention anymore. I don't like it. It got to a point now where I mean, even this is the first time I've actually even said this publicly. I'm actually going to be moving away from the masculinity space because one, there's nothing I can innovate in there anymore, and
mm,
it's can't have constructive conversations anymore in there. It's become a cesspool for attack, childlike psychology, victimization, tear down culture, which is a big one. So kind of similar to what Lukey was saying when you speak about these maladaptive structures, to get women, money, all that was exactly the same. There's also an adaptive structure to the respect part, which is to be useful as a man. We want to be useful. We do want to be respected. When that's coming from a positive place, that can actually be quite a blessing. And so Luke and I were probably very similar. We were very driven by conflict. I'm not going to sort of say that was guaranteed for Luke, but knowing Luke, I think we could probably say we're fairly similar with that. Very driven by conflict, and the degree to which I was driven by conflict is now the degree to which I desire peace. And
mhm,
peace is really big in my life at the moment. It's my number one value. So going through the masculinity space, you can't help but be drawn into conflict with people that have no interest in actually engaging in a really healthy, adaptive way to help to understand me better, to understand what masculinity means. They just want to erase it at all costs. And so now I'm more of the point. I'm actually moving back to more of what I used to do with the just programming distinctions, insights to help people. I'm actually looking at setting up a podcast now where I just work with people for free one on one to help more people and go into that space as opposed to fighting that war with masculinity. I think Dylan, who we know, Luke, is probably more going down the path of where I used to be with it because I don't really I don't want the attention anymore.
mhm.
I had you can't help but get pulled into these ridiculous comparisons. Someone asked me, they go, "Are you the Australian Andrew Tate?" I said, "All that says to me is you don't have the ability to critically think, because if you actually knew my work, you'd see him and I are nothing alike. But just because I stand for traditional masculinity, where I want to take care of a family, that's really the foundation of it. All of a sudden, I'm Andrew Tate." And it's just the bridge that you have to draw to close that in shows how it is as wide as the person's ability to be self-referential, to actually understand and want to understand someone else better. And now we've gotten into this tear down culture, which is it's psychopathic and parasitic in nature. It's just people are just saying stuff online that they would never in a million years say to my face. And it's just breeding cowardice, bullying. There's this new app that's come out called the T app in America that's got men's details on there that women are saying whatever they want about them with no evidence. It's just tear
Wow.
down culture. And so for me, it's creating an ecosystem, again, that's healthy where I respect myself. I love women. I'm an advocate for men. And people go, oh, you hate women. I'm like, I've never said that in my life ever.
Mm.
Never, ever have I said that. I don't promote that. The funny thing is one of sort of the bigger profiles in Australia, Laura Henshaw, was coming after me. She's a feminist and whatever. And her father left when she was young. So she calls the provider male control wrapped up as care. And what she doesn't see is that I'm actually trying to help men become providers so they don't do what her father did to her. And
Mm.
so you see people operating out of their wounding all the time. And I've operated out of my wounding before as well. One of the reasons I got into the masculine space and spoke out against feminism is because my mother was a devouring mother that was very cruel. And I want men to see that so it doesn't happen on a social level. So I could say there's nobility and there's purpose and there's drive in that. But the conflict that that comes with, I'd rather not deal with that anymore. I'm 42 now. I'm fighting for 40 years of my fucking life. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm over it.
Yeah, I don't
Just
think you
be
do
a
that
good
shit
man, be a
online,
good
bro.
person. Yeah, it's a waste of time. Hey, Luke, I mean, you would know what it's like too. You're fighting your whole life. You just desire peace after when you hit a certain point.
Yeah, that's why I like disappearing as well on Finsta, bro. I have to deactivate it too. I just deactivate and disappear. And as soon as I deactivate it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
the best.
There's definitely a shift, I think. I'm certainly feeling the same way as you guys. And it's interesting because we haven't spoken at all about this. And yeah, it's certainly the similar feeling that I have is to just tired of it, like, and you realize like for to what end and for what purpose,
Mm.
like it starts to have no further serving internally anymore. And then you think, okay, well, there's more to life. So now that I'm in this sort of the afternoon of my life, I need to kind of think of things that have more impact and meaning, but without just chasing something external. Again, it feels like you're seeking validation and you're doing it under the guise of making an impact and shit like that, and you kind of sell yourself a lie.
Yeah.
You well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's part of the online world is that, that reductionist view that you were saying, Adrian.
Mm.
People just they have an inability to produce broad context, so their viewpoint is myopic instead of panoramic. And people just they don't want to understand. They get sound bites for 6 seconds, and then that person is automatically that. And it's very easy to win an argument when you're the only one yapping about it.
Mm.
These people now that the way that it's moving, it's becoming, I'm moving more towards Substack because it seems to be cleaner. I can express more. It's a bit more long form content because I think it's important to get the message out there. But in the last 12 months, Instagram's just it's devolved down into this nasty place of online harassment and bullying with no consequences for it. And I think that's going to snap back. Someone's going to get killed or knocked out or seriously injured for talking shit about people online, and or someone will kill themselves and it'll create a backlash.
Already
And
happened,
I
bro. Yeah.
think, yeah, I think if that happens, I think the people that do it should be arrested and should be charged if they have a influence on that person's life. I think it's terrible.
Mm. But it's already happening, bro. Like it's happening with my kids. So it's one of those things like how flippant kids these days like just tell someone else to go kill themselves. Like they just you just go nick yourself. They'll say it to their face at school. They have no remorse for the impact that those words can have on anyone. But before we move on to, I don't want to segue into that. Before the thing that I noticed with you both, and the thing that resonates with me too, is perhaps that the reason why that external validation is as a whole that you were both looking to fill. And I know it's the same for me, but until you found a partner and a woman that would fill that void for you, then there's no need to seek it externally. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, yeah. Sick woman and family, man.
Mm.
Well, look, I know that my history has been to seek external validation, right? So for all the reasons and more that you guys have already mentioned. But I know within my marriage, because like the similarities that we have at the moment is that we have new women in our lives that are making an impact, and we're at a stage at life that we're starting to see that there's a veil that needs to be lifted, and we've been hoodwinked to a degree that we're thinking we're on the side of awareness where we're really just in another matrix that's been sort of
Paradigm, hey, yeah.
like it's been sort of shielded for us to think that this is, a reality, but it's not. It's just another version that we need to progress from. But in saying that, like, you guys are late bloomers in terms of like kids and shit like that, because, I got married at 24 and I was a father at, 27, 28. So, my kids are 18, 15, and 13, right? So like we're fucking training together, doing MMA, we're
That's
lifting
cool, eh?
weights, like we're having conversations about the universe, God, training, fighting, dieting, like it's a whole other world, right? So,
How blessed.
but I can tell you, and with no disrespect to, my boy's mum, the thing the things that I'm experiencing now within a relationship with my woman is the adoration and the respect and the praise and all of those things, the honoring, like the reverence, like all of those things are overflowing in my world, right? And so transitioning out of constantly seeking validation from women has all but dissipated to nothing
Yeah.
because my cup's full.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, that's super powerful that related to that. And I get asked a lot, do I regret not having kids younger? And you've already done it, Adrian. So you've gone from, that initiation, so to speak, into it sounds like we're all in a very similar place with relating and relationships.
Hmm.
But people ask me, do you wish you had them earlier? And I say, absolutely not, because I would have messed that kid up for sure. I would have not been and maybe fatherhood would have changed me a bit, but the work I needed to do on myself psychologically to mature into a man that I would be, I'm proud of who I've become. I wasn't now looking back, I'm not proud of who I was when I was younger. I was unconscious, but if I'd had a kid in my 20s at your age, Adrian, man, I'd be cleaning that mess up now. So I'm glad that I actually didn't do it when I was younger.
It
Yeah.
just would have accelerated things, Jag. You wouldn't have messed that kid up. That kid would have put you right sooner.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that may have happened, but I'm still glad I didn't do it then.
Yeah, I respect that. I mean, look, I'm only preaching from my own perspective. Okay, so like this is my world because I always wanted to be a young dad. So
Mm.
I just wanted to be doing the things that I'm doing now. Like, when I opened up the skate park, like I was skating with my kids, like I didn't want to be the fat dad that couldn't fucking move and chase after his son or daughter or whatever. Like I just wanted to be the fit and healthy dad that was reliving my youth with the children, with my kids at that time. So I achieved that on a personal level. Like my kids and marriage in particular, like it brought the worst out of me, the version of Adrian that was, even 5 years ago, 4 years ago is like, you know there's a large part of me that is grateful and thankful for the things that I've gone through with, particularly like the pandemic and losing business and, all that kind of shit. These are servants
Hmm.
in retrospect, right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
man, I'm very much like have a large amount of guilt and shame for the person that I was, to my children, to my ex-wife, to others, in business, like, all of that kind of stuff. very naive, very selfish, very self-centered, and and very wounded, from a position of the whole sort of chip on your shoulder, wanting to prove a point and all the rest of it. So when you get to the point where you're not, there's no need to prove a point to anyone. It's that, as cliche as it says, it's just, the saying is like, it's kind of like, it's just me against me now. But again, like when you've got a position where you've enabled yourself to peel back the layers and kind of acknowledge that that had to happen for you in order for you to be where you are now, you can kind of rest easy. You can't really, as a man, like practically, like what can I do about the past other than learn from it?
Yeah.
What can I do about this moment other than learn from it? What can I do other than just find myself in a position where I'm constantly looking, evolving, watching, acknowledging, uh, appreciating everything that's going on in my body, in my mind, catching myself out, making sure, like Luke, you speak to your higher power, your God, and things like that, and using that as
Big
your
God,
your
big
reference
God.
point.
Big
Sorry, man.
God.
Yeah.
Still got the fight there, Lucy.
Yeah. Let's do
Hey,
it.
you know what you just said then, bro? Like, and beautiful. Thank you for it's massive. The shame, the guilt, and there's the only true forgiveness is in Christ, by the way, my friend. So keep knocking on that door, brother, and you'll feel that. But anyways, what you said then, you said, I didn't want to be a fat dad, and you said, for like 4 days before baby came, you come around for the barbecue. Remember,
Mm.
Adrian? How good am I at a barbecue, by the way? Anyways,
Not very
so
good.
Adrian comes
Oh,
over
sorry. No,
and
you're all
you
right.
spoke about that. No good at all. You spoke about that, bro. I remember you saying, you go, about being you don't want to be that dad. You go, you've been to the beach and you've seen other like whatever dads that are soft and man boobs and all that sort of stuff, right? Anyways, bro, that night I was having a shower and I get out and I look in the mirror and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go for a swim with Adrian. Hey, I'm getting soft, What do you? And I'm like, whew. So things started popping, bro. Like from just and Jag spoke about it before. He said he wants to start doing long form content. Because for myself, what's happened recently, like coming to the run, like even that little seed that you dropped in, Adrian, about the dad, right? And me feeling like I'm being getting soft, and then Jag talking about the long form content. What happened was like, I don't know, 3 months ago, I was, because I travel a lot, driving around a lot, and I've gotten soft, I've gotten lazy with my training. And I went to a park and I YouTubed like a quick clip, like, and he goes, warm up with 100 body weight squats, right? If you can just get through that, it'll get you. I did that, bro, and I was done. I got dizzy. I was spent from 100, just 100 body weight squats. I
Yeah.
got tired, and then for days, bro, I couldn't walk properly. Fuck, I used to box. I used to train. I fought like and trained hard. So then I was like, I could feel something coming, bro, like something coming, and I'm like, something was gonna pop. So I was driving home, and I started listening to some Goggin stuff. Never listened to his stuff ever, right? Listen to
Mm.
him and just the inner bitch and all that, and I'm like, everything things were just unraveling. So I'm like, I need to, and I'm turning 40 in September, right? So I'm deactivating Insta, got rid of Insta, uh, de deleted the YouTube app off my phone, so got rid of the subscription of that as well.
Mhm.
Got rid of it all. So the only content I was listening to was audiobooks. So because I realized in Insta, it's like the short form content. Even in YouTube, it's like, I'll get to the next video. Even if it's a long video, it's not serving me now. Get to the next video. The reels. Everything was just and it was boom, boom, boom. But then I started listening to audiobooks like Goggins and just this Hunter guy that was a triathlon matey, whatever it was. Anyways, it allows your mind to start following longer threads of
Yeah.
thought, longer, and it's teaching your mind to follow the single thread and seeing where that goes. Yeah, one might come in, but to expand on it. So my mind, I was sitting in these books because I travel a lot, like I said, 7 hour books, 8 hour books, and the whole just following the one thread. And then things started joining for me. Like I was like I said, Goggins, and I started, I want to start training. I want to start running even. So at my property, I've got a driveway that's like 150 meters. So I ran 150 meters up and back. So 300 meters. I was Gornskis. I'm like,
Mm.
and like I said, I used to fight and loved my running. And so then I started jogging a little bit more, and then the church in our local area was up for sale, and it was there 12 months ago. And I was like, if that's there in 12 months, I'm going to find a way how to get it. And we just got our own place, and I just got married last year, so bank wasn't flying around, So 12 months later, I'm like, I'm going to see if we can get that. So then all these, like I said, following a long thread of thought, because no distractions, everything started coming on the same thread, the same purpose. Like the church, how can I get the church? And now I'm started jogging. Then I joined a half marathon with a couple of the fellas in Lismore coming up in August, and that scared me, bro. I'm like 20 something Ks. I'm like, I'm running, I can't run one at the moment.
Mm.
Then I downloaded this runner app, and it teaches you structure, like what you got to do. And I love structure. I love when I've got a plan, boom, let's do it. So I'm running, and all of a sudden, bro, I'm getting up to like 5K, 6K, and I'm like, wow, this is feeling good. Then I'll listen to that Ned Brockman's book as well, the guy that ran from WA to East, and he raised all this money for homeless. Oh, wow, do you reckon I could raise the money to get the church? Because we go 2.5 hours every Sunday well, most Sundays to our church, and the last church in our area is going to get knocked down for development.
Wow.
And there's new families moving into the area. I've been doing a bit of Bible study with a couple of other local people as well. So I want a place for worship in our area, because there's a lot of different New Age things. I think it's a representation of the world, knocking down churches for X, Y, Z. And like I want the foundation of at least our church at the thing. So cool. So I'm like, how can I do this? So in my head, I'm started jogging a bit more. I'm like, I'm gonna do a run, right? I'm like, okay, cool. What's going to be a massive run? I'm saying, what would be good? I'm like, I was thinking 1,000 Ks, like, bro, a bit much, And I was Gold Coast to Cronulla. Like, I've got a good backing in Cronulla. I'm like, let's do that. And all the dots, everything started joining, from your conversation about not being a soft dad, and even that with the short form content. All the long form stuff started coming in. The church, I was praying about it. Spoke to the fellas in Bible study. They said pray about it, and then just everything just started popping, because I wasn't distracted from the short form content. So cool, let's do this. So yeah, it's a marathon a day for 21 days,
Wow.
starting on the 16th of December, to raise the money for the church. It's 260 to secure the building. So we're going to do that. And the people that have come on, like the people that, like I said, when you get away from the distractions and you put yourself out there and you want to, I suppose, do something for a greater cause rather than yourself. And it's been a bit, you talk the validation thing, Adrian. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this run. It's me bit doing, but then it's like, just that constant battle of making it less about me, more about him, less about me, more about the community, less about me, more about the purpose, and it's been a bit a seesaw, because it's me training, it's me doing everything, but it's me posting about it to get people on, like,
On board with it.
and I'm
Yeah.
not falling back, but diving back into the Instagram world to get this run up, and it's gone from nothing of short, no content at all for the few months, and
Mm.
to diving straight into it for it to get the flow to raise this cash, right? So it's been a big like sort of seesaw, but where I'm getting at is the greater purpose of having this church, of me trying to push it off me, and making it more about them, has brought, I'm big with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's bringing some incredible people in my life. Even Muscle Republic. I've spoken to you guys about Muscle Republic in the past. Anyways, Muscle Republic, his name's Vic, the CEO of Muscle Republic.
Yeah.
When I was owning the gym, in this is probably in 2016, whatever it was, there was this homeless kids coming out to our gym, right? And they were getting trained and mentored at the gym. But when they come, they'd be in trackies, and they, without being rude, they'd smell. Like, it was like their clothes were thrashed and it was just smelly. So I put a thing out there. I'm like, anyone know anyone that can that has old activewear, hook us up. Well, Vic from Muscle Republic, he messages me. He goes, bro, I own a activewear company. What do you guys need? So he gets his boxes, bro, boxes of all these. So these kids were repping the like active,
Yeah.
like from Muscle Republic. Oh, what a champion, and didn't ask for anything in return, not even ask for like he just wanted to help out these kids. So then throughout the time, I've seen his business progress massive. This guy from Muscle Republic, right? And he's the catchphrase from it is real muscle is heart. I think real muscle is heart, right? So then with things coming into play, I'm like, okay, cool. I'd love to get some to get the church. I'd love to get some sponsorships, whatever it is. So I just message him. I go, bro, I know because he's messaged me over the years. He's like, man, I'd love to get work with you. In mental health, youth mental health. I'd love to help out. Let us know what you need, even over this time. Well, I reach out to him for this. He goes, bro, what do you need? He goes, oh, so he's hooking up with all gear. He's hooking up with this. He's throwing bank at it. He's throwing his resources at it as well. So it's bringing but having a greater purpose brings people along the path with you. Making it less about me and a greater purpose. It's bringing all these incredible people. I met with his marketing team yesterday. There's two women and him, and the whole time it wasn't like, oh, usually when you're in business, you can sense an agenda of what they want to get out of it. Like it's like what's in it for me kind of thing. Nothing like that. I'm sitting with them yesterday, and they were just popping up these ideas. They're like, "Oh, we can get this happen, this happen. We can throw. Okay, we can." Everything was about the greater purpose. So once I suppose what I'm getting at here is once you get rid of the distractions, the short form content, and start clearing that stuff out and following longer thoughts, longer contemplation, longer prayer, longer and look for a greater purpose, then people come along that wake for you and they experience the same, look for something beyond themselves. So that's
Mm.
what's been the incredible journey already, bro. I've only been training for like 6 weeks and it's already been the best journey by far,
Mm.
experiencing this and having the team along for the purpose with me. And so that being said, like the Muscle Republic people are just out of this world, brother. Incredible, incredible stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Send me the link and I'll pop it in the show notes so we can rally some more support behind you as well.
Beautiful. Because I spend bank on overseas mateys all the time, like activewear, like, and they don't care. Couldn't care less, like, and this guy's been getting his business and hustle on the last 10 years and always giving back during that process. I'm like, yeah, I've got to invest more in them too.
Yeah, fuck no. That's what it's all about.
Beautiful.
Um, if you got time, can we talk a little bit to this higher power, God, Jesus, and all that kind of stuff? Jag, do you
God, Jesus is God, by the way.
sure. It's all right. Thank
That's
you
all
for
right. That's all
clarifying.
right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Conversation done.
Hey man, look, I went to Christian schools, like Catholic schools. I've heard it.
I've heard it. I've heard it all. I've got the t-shirt.
Yeah. I've been to church a couple of times, but I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know. From my perspective, hold up. Hey, my son's back from training. Um,
Does he want to jump in, bro?
I highly doubt it.
You
He'll
just don't
he'll
want him to show
reveal
you
he'll
up,
reveal
eh?
all my bad sides and tell me
Yeah. Dad, pick
how
up
much
your
better
shit.
shit. Yeah, that's right. He's not like that at all. Um, Yeah, look, my perspective is that I think we alluded to this last conversation was that I can't get around or deny that there is a creator because everything just circles back to the creator. I do get challenged with the fact that the creator is Jesus and he's old man. So I that loses me in terms of defining a particular God. Although when you speak to talking to Source and Jesus and praying, like I pray a lot but it's just not a Bible source or anything like that. And I do speak to a higher version of myself, and I hear my voice come back, and that's kind of how I operate. So we operate in a very similar framework, I think, but I think our belief systems are different. But if I can throw it over the Jag, I wouldn't mind your perspective on because I hear you say things like this all the time, but you're not as convicted. You don't sound as convicted as your conviction is not as high as what Luke sounds like. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, and you'd be more convicted around just putting like saying I'm Christian. I was just saying this to Joel the other day. I said, it's funny because I wouldn't say that I identify as a Christian, but most of my values are Christian. I would say in the way that I live, operate, prayer, God, family structure, values, moral foundations. There's not a huge divorce between it. I do think there's a difference between living by the teachings of Christ and religion. I think there's a bit of a difference in that. And I respect whatever someone wants to believe, but I think beliefs for me on that part are quite similar. I'm not afraid of the term God. I do believe there is a creator. We live in a world that we can create, which means there are rules around the creation that we can create, which have been put there by something that's created it. It's just very logical to me from that perspective.
Sure.
But I would say that as I've gotten older, a foundation around that has, you almost can't argue with it. I think I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, which is a good book title. I can't remember who wrote it. And the argument that he places for God is morality, right and wrong. And I think that's just really simple. Right and wrong, we don't like wanting to kill or hurt someone or anything like that. The Ten Commandments are they're pretty much foundational moral virtues which have been placed there. Animals don't have it, but as we've evolved, that's something that's been placed there. And I think that's if I were to take because there's a lot of charge and controversy around quote unquote religion and labels. But if I were to take it off, I wouldn't see much of a delineation between what I believe in and Christianity.
Hmm. Do you think if you took religion away, you would be able to come up with the values and morals that you have assumed over your lifetime without the basis or foundation of religion?
Yeah, I don't think we need to be told that it's not good to kill someone. I don't think that comes from like that's handed down or like what are the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, things like that. I don't think you need a set of rules to tell you that that doesn't feel good when you're doing it. But then if you look at perspective, the people that do that, it might feel good to them. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I think as you graduate and you become more mature, I do believe that those are foundational for the way that you want to live. Like I said, peace is something that is really important to me. Reduction of conflict, absence of conflict, treating people well, building something bigger than myself, more community, helping others, taking care of my woman and my incoming child or children, just being a good example for that. Now I think further ahead that, when my son comes along or daughter or both, do I want to be on the internet as the Australian Andrew Tate in 20 years? No, I don't want my name put in the ring with that. So I'm thinking 10, 20 years down the track now instead of 10 or 20 minutes, which is how I used to think. And
Hmm.
I think as you get older, with those foundational values that you could see as the Ten Commandments or morality that is placed there by God, because otherwise it wouldn't be there unless it served a purpose. But I think that you can actually recognize God through those values. And I think that's really important to know.
Hmm. Look, and I think you also can't deny that, yeah, there is something going on within this kind of invisible, uh, you know, structure that connects us. Like we're having conversations and we are having synergies within our lives and we've got sort of, parallel realities going on. And we haven't spoken in 12 months and, we haven't seen each other in several months, that sort of thing. So I think that there's, and if we were together, I think the energy would just explode. Like we would have these moments of, tingles and that to me just creates you can't deny that there's some sort of divinity at play, right? Like that there is something outside of this body which is also controlling the body to a degree, and then there's this sort of magnetic field that is connecting and drawing people, circumstances, places, and events into our lives that are helping us navigate through this kind of maze, so to speak. You with me?
Yeah, I agree.
Even yeah, it's big. It is. It's massive. And coming and it's big. It was a big journey coming to the faith, Adrian, and but you being you love we spoke about it at dinner about the the different YouTube clips we watch, the different
Yeah.
conspiracies, whatever. Everything comes back to the Bible, brother. Everything comes back to Christ. The flat Earth stuff does, the firmament does, the old world stuff does, all of it does. But when I was the past 10 years of being a truth seeker, whatever it was, I'd always be truth seeking. But then when it get to the point of the Bible and Christ, I'd always go, nah. And then and always get there, and I'm like every time I was searching, it always end up at the foot of the cross. But I just kept pushing it away. Right. And then having these big experiences in the new age world with demonic attacks and Jag's been through it himself. There is a spiritual warfare out there, and so there is a good versus evil. There is 100%. And experiencing that and praying and experiencing Jesus for the first time in my life, which and again, Christianity doesn't have to be an experiential thing, because somebody might not have an experience to come to the faith, but I did have a pretty big experience, and then diving into, okay, I've got these belief systems. When I started reading the Bible, bullshit, nah, Zeitgeist said this, they're just talking about the stars and like all that stuff's coming in, but all of and because all the new age practices, even the world, Hollywood, everything is all of that stuff is trying to pull down Christianity. A lot of it is uh, making it look like XYZ, making it look like that, and if the world and Hollywood and stuff behind the scenes are trying to tear something down and ridicule something, maybe there's some truth in that. Why are all the big top dogs, whatever, trying to pull that down? So I started exploring that, and then realizing the zeitgeist. I watched you watched the zeit about Christianity, right? And that's what for me. I'm like, oh, I've got to tell my dad that he doesn't know, like, because my dad's Christian. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's that the poor
Doesn't
man.
realize.
He's
Yeah.
spending his whole life. It's been debunked. It's all bullshit.
Mm.
All the stuff that they said in the zeitgeist is debunked, but we get flooded with all this material from the evil one to pull us away from the truth. And now reading the Bible, and then the idea of certain texts being taken out of the Bible and books being taken out of the Bible. I'm like, okay, where are those books? What do you like? Where's the actual Bible that it's been taken from? If you look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, go back to the original text as far back as it's the same text. It's the same text. The teaching of Jesus are the same text, but we're conditioned over myself that all of it's been, don't get me wrong. There may be some manipulation in there. There may be some change in there, but it's for the Old Testament to the New Testament, the predictions, the prophecy, the stuff of what Jesus has fulfilled, like hundreds of prophecies that he's fulfilled from the Old Testament. It's perfect. Like you cannot once you read Old Testament to New Testament and the fulfillment of those prophecies and the cross references without it even being on. There's like there's an image. I don't know if you've seen it. It's all the cross references from Old to New Testament. It covers the whole screen, and it cannot be that cannot be come from something that isn't supernatural. That cannot come from man. The way that the Bible has fulfilled prophecy, the way the Bible has been created. So coming into the faith, reading the Bible, and don't get me wrong, mate. There's still times where my thoughts come in and go, bro, what are you talking like? Are you kidding me? But then you look at history, then you look at these big threads that we go on with these conspiracies. A lot of them answering the text and now where the world's going, where the world's heading, what's happening in the world. It's answering that through revelation, through different things there as well. So it's not just, I suppose, the idea like, and religion, yeah, is a man-made thing. Religion comes with its traditions, with its all that sort of stuff. But it's Jesus pushed past that. I'm a Bible believing Christian. I believe in the teachings of Christ. The traditions and man-made stuff come in to try to pull away and try to control and try to whatever it is. But if you just read the Bible for what it is, read the text and study the text back to its ancient words, and it's a massive. It's the biggest thing I've ever come across. But the truth, I've searched for the truth, and I've found it, my friend. And it's not just about being morally well, because when the commandments are there not to fulfill. The commandments are there to show us that we can't fulfill them, that we need a savior. We can't, I probably 5 out of the 10 I'll do every lie in my head. I'll have stupid thought. Like there's plenty of them that I don't fulfill. And Christ came as the second covenant to show that we can't fulfill those. We need a mediator. We need help. And when again, I spoke before, when it's not about me, when it's about something else, knowing that yes, I do need structure. I do need help. I do need a savior. I do need something else for forgiveness because I can't forgive myself for my past, what I've done. Like all and the stuff that I even do now, the thoughts that I have. So yes,
Mm.
okay, it does help you morally in terms of coming to Christ, but it's not about that. It shows us that we're in a fallen world and it shows us that we are fallen and we need some help.
Yeah, look, I agree with some of what you said, and I disagree with other things as well. I think,
Beautiful.
like the moral foundation, the Book of Revelations, like I like the prophecies and things like that. But you mentioned things like flat Earth. It's you can have all these arguments to a globe version of Earth, a globe model, until there's something that disproves that. Like once you've got like a all this evidence and you've got one thing that counter like juxtapose that evidence, right? So once you've got that one anomaly, I think it kind of opens the door that perhaps it's not 100% solid, which is your theory around the globe, for argument's sake, right? And I feel the same way about religion and about Jesus because you say everything returns back to the Bible, but like for my investigation, it goes way further back than the Bible, way further back. And you talk about civilizations and technologies, and you mentioned the stars and things like that. If you go to like ancient relics in terms of like the pyramids, the pyramids appear in Asia. They appear in like
Everywhere, Australia, bro.
yeah, Australia, like you've got, what do you call it? European countries and all that kind like they appear all over the world and they're designed very similarly. So there was something going on way back before Jesus supposedly walked the earth and was preaching his sayings, like
I
in
think
his
they've
word.
been. I think they've been more recent than what we think. Those. I think they're a lot more recent.
Perhaps,
You watch,
perhaps.
you watch,
I
have
mean,
you
there's
watched,
there's
you watch a
there's
guy,
speculation around carbon dating and all those sorts of things. However, it puts a hole in that story, right? And for me,
Hal,
that's
Hal.
kind of how because it's the story saying that like this the what does it say, this like the world's only 6,000 years old, those sorts of things, but then you've got like evidence of structures that go back just many moons beyond that.
What evidence though? Like,
So again, well, I mean, the evidence is like the structures. So it's the same thing. It's like but when you say to what evidence, you're asking me to produce, say like the pyramids have evidence of like water corrosion, which dates back 11,000 years ago, right? And so then when you go to the Bible doesn't go back, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't go back that far,
yeah.
right? And if you have you ever read into like Jesus in the Essenes and all that kind of stuff, like there's a lot of contradictions that along the way that kind of like push the Bible story to another narrative, and that's the kind of that swings my opinion and persuades my thoughts on the validity of that particular thing. And like you said, religion is man-made. I believe that somewhere along the line it was kind of hijacked to a large degree to push a certain narrative in that respect. If you take the story of Jesus, the 12 apostles, like that's repeated like 25 times across many religions. There's many versions of gods. There's like, so which one? It's like Ricky Gervais says, you believe in one less God than what I do. Like that to me causes me to step back and go, well, what am I going to cherry pick out of these teachings that would serve me in my highest purpose, as opposed to devoting myself to one particular train of thought or religion or dogma or whatever you want to call it.
Getcha. I, you sound like me 5 years ago, bro. You sound like that was me 5 years ago, and I used to cherry pick different make my experience better in this world as well. And like I said, this is what you're saying now was me 5 years because I was diving into all the other texts as well, and coming out of it, and okay, I've put so much time in all these other texts, right? Like you have all these other belief systems. I'm not saying the Earth's flat either, by the way. I'm just saying that there's all these different belief systems. When you dive deep and beyond that, it comes back to the Bible, but I was putting so much time in all these other texts to experience and try to understand what was going on. Like, why, if I'm putting this much um, into all this other text and the world's saying the Bible's wrong, I haven't even read it. I haven't studied the biggest, most controversial book of all time. Yes, I've got belief systems around it because of these other texts. Yes, I've got belief systems because of these other opinions. Yes, I've got belief systems because I've cherry picked from other things. Why don't I actually experience this book to its full and don't get me wrong, it's a lifelong journey to experience it to its death. So starting to read it, like I said, I'm still pushing past conditioned belief systems reading it, my friend.
Mm.
So I'm still pushing past it, but reading it and then not only reading it though, okay, reading it and studying it. What's that mean? Because I've got a certain veil that I'm looking through it. What's it actually mean? Going back to the ancient Hebrew, going back to the scholars that have read it for millennia. Whatever, what's it actually mean? What's it about? And since doing that, that's when I can okay, that's when I can, for me, it's not about having blind faith as well. Like I've had big experiences, like I said, with demonic attacks and demonic entities, which have gone since prayer and reading the Bible.
Mhm.
So it's been a big journey, bro, and it's one that I'm still experiencing. But since diving into it and studying it, that's when I have the faith that it is the truth. So I think Jag said before, I don't have the faith, I think it is, to be an atheist or whatever it is. I and people say that they're like, I'm not saying you are, but I saw this clip recently. Someone saying I'm an atheist and goes, "Oh, have you read the Bible? Have you read this?" And he goes, "Well, you're not an atheist. You're just ignorant.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
you
sure.
haven't."
I used to call myself an atheist until, like my brother said, "Do you believe in an afterlife?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, you're not an atheist." Like it's just, I had to look up the fucking meaning
Simple.
to see. Like, I didn't even know what it
Gotcha.
meant. I just thought an atheist meant you don't believe in God. But I have experiences, Luke, that help shape my way of the world. And I think we're all speaking to this. So I'm only speaking from my own version. Like I've witnessed things physically in other dimensions, and like it's enough to me to say that yes, there is a creator. There's something going on beyond what the light allows us to see here and on this plane. But there's something happening elsewhere that is there's too many points of reference and too many anomalies to make me go, this is 100% where the word of the Lord, that's the gospel. Like when you go, there's only one God, that's what I hear about all the time. It's like, well, no, there isn't. There's loads of gods according to loads of people. But if I extract all the goodness of what the Bible brings, I feel like I live as if, like to quote Jordan Peterson, as if there were a God. I hold myself to a standard and do the right thing by other people, and I look to serve others, and all those things. Like I feel like I act as if there's someone watching over me and acknowledging the good and the evil that I do, and I'm conscious enough and aware enough to say, hey, if what's the highest version of Adrian? Like, how would he respond, react? What would he do in this particular moment? So I'm kind of on the same track. I think I just don't
Getting there, bro.
identify
Keep
with
knocking. He's
God.
coming, brother. He's coming, mate. You know,
Yeah, I
give
can.
my one other thing. My boy, Anthony from Urban Art Australia. AJ.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. AJ, yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago, bro, we were having this chat. He was across from the table from me, and we are having because I was talking about the demonic attacks I was under, and he's big. He's big in the DMT world. He's
DMT, yeah, that's it.
psychedelic art, and I
Yeah,
went on that big
that's
with
his whole
him.
get up.
Yeah, was well. all sitting across from each other, and I was telling him about the demonic attacks, and because it was after the psychedelic stuff as well, and he was like, okay, so what do you mean? So Jesus, and he was asking these same questions, and I said, oh, bro, I think he's coming for you. Hey, Jesus is coming for you, brother. You're seeking, aren't you? Well, bro. Now he's running Bible studies. He's given up his art. He's given up and he looks back at some of the art and the symbolism that he didn't realize he was doing at the time because he was in this DMT, or the demonic symbolism that he was doing in that space and bringing it back into his art. So he's got rid of his art, burnt it, got rid of it all, and he's come to Christ.
Really?
Yes, my friend. So
Fuck.
keep knocking, brother. He's coming for you too, mate. Don't you worry, Adrian, mate.
Luke, man, I've been preaching my own Bible studies for years, mate. I have people that flock around me to listen to what I have to say. Like,
Well,
right?
the Bible of Adrian, you reckon?
Right? I'm just another version of Christ, you
The
know.
gospel, the
I'm going to
gospel
get
of Adrian.
smashed, you know, but you know, that's how I feel about it anyway.
That being said, I thank you. I thank you for asking that question, my friend, because I'm new in the faith. I don't have all the answers, brother. I don't have all the answers. And when people ask me and come back with these questions, I go
Yeah.
and study it and find out. So, or we'll try to find out. So, well, thank you, brother.
That's all right. Look, I'm eager to have this conversation. I feel safe within this container that I can have it without someone ramming something down my throat to say you're absolutely fucking wrong and you'll repent one day and like put the fucking curse of evil on me until I repent, right? So I feel like I'm in a comfortable position that we can have this chat. Uh,
Beautiful.
Jag, I can see you getting a little bit itchy there. I want you to maybe contribute some final words before we wrap this up because I think it's an important conversation to have, and I think everyone, in my opinion, in that will be listening to this is on their own journey, and yeah, I think people look for leadership, they look for guidance, and I think that yeah, I look for that all the time, but I also have this mirror that kind of has to have this self-reflection and say like, well, be your own guiding light. Like I don't, yeah, I have a problem with or a challenge with seeking a savior or seeking for someone to rescue me. Like I feel like that person or is and always will be within me. Anyway, Jags, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Voltaire said it. He said, if you want to know who rules over you, look to who you can't criticize. And with what Lukey said, how Christianity gets mocked and attacked, like what they did at I think it was the Paris opening of the Olympic Games.
Hmm.
That was ferocious, man. Like that was, do you know what happened there, Lukey? Did you see that? They did like a drag show reenactment of the Last Supper. This symbolism exists of ridicule of that. We can't deny that. If we want to talk about facts like you were talking about carbon dating and things like that, Adrian, that we can't ignore the fact that Christianity is openly mocked, openly ridiculed. I think, a lot of churches, I think now they're allowing female pastors and, certain sexual orientations in to be pastors as well. So, like, nothing is without purpose, I think, in that world, to be a bit conspiratorial, where they're doing that for a reason. It's the same as the attack on masculinity. You can't criticize feminism or women,
Hmm.
but masculinity and men are openly mocked. I heard a good quote by Jimmy Carr. He goes, "You put one man in a jungle, it's food for the animals. You put 10, you've got an apex predator." And that's very true. You put 10 women in the jungle, you just got a bigger meal. And that's not ridiculing women. That's the truth of our biology. So I think there's definitely something in that which I pull to, which to agree with Luke on that is they're mocking it for a reason. There's something around this humiliation rituals or whatever it is that they do. They're not mocking Islam, they're not
Yeah,
mocking Jewish
Judaism.
people.
Yeah,
There's something in that. So when I see that, I look at these public displays of this, like, movies have things like this in it. There's an indoctrination going on. And so to mock it, to ridicule, to tear it down makes you afraid to speak the truth. I get men every week messaging me going, thank you for leading the way and standing for us because no one else will.
Hmm.
Just because I stand for masculinity, I'm not afraid of the kickback on it. And I think, where did we get to a time where people were afraid to assert their Christian values in life without being absolutely shredded for it, or masculinity without being really shredded for it. Now, these two, if you look in history, they kind of go hand in hand. Conservative values usually go with conservative beliefs. Conservative beliefs are usually found on religious values. It's just kind of layered through it. So if we want to destroy that and destroy the connection to God through the family unit, destroy religion. I think I can't remember where I saw it. Katie Millett, that was it. She was one of the first proponents at Columbia University, I think it was. They used to chant and sing like almost like I can't remember what it's called. It's not an effigy, but it's something like that. And they were going to promote promiscuity, tear down the patriarchy, promote homosexuality, and one other thing as well. This is online. You can look it up. Katie Millett, one of the founding women in Columbia in the 60s, I think, for the women's movement. You look at this, and this has been orchestrated since then to tear everything apart, to destroy everything. We talk about things that are progressive values at the moment in society. And if this is progressive, where people are sicker, fatter, weaker, more mentally ill than ever, more divorce from family, the birth rate's at 1.3, which is the lowest in history. We can't even replace our own population. How is that progressive? We're destroying our society, And so when people go back to, and this is what my comment on this is, why I don't worry about so much like these, and I hate politics. That's why one of the reasons why I'm moving away from masculinity is now it's become political, and I hate politics. I can't stand it. And people go, well, what about all these people that criticize you? Don't you worry about that? I'm like, this is their last generation. They'll breed themselves out. And so I'm not really worried about it. So by the time the next generation comes in, they're going to be gone. This belief system will just like work its way out, because traditional people that have families have, Christian values and family values and are connected to conservative ideas. They're the ones that have children. Luigi said he's probably going to have 15 daughters, with that, right? You look at that propagates the species. That's in line with nature. That's continuity. Nature only has one motivation, that's to continue. It's procreation. So if you're part of a death cult which promotes, terminating children, not having families, all of that, you're not in line with nature. So nature goes, all right, cool, just wipe you out. It's really, for me, it's just kind of like an argument of logic and reason as opposed to subjective analysis on the thing. So that's where I stand with it.
Well spoken, brother. Well spoken.
Yeah, I like all of that, and to my knowledge, this resetting of civilizations is prophesized.
Yeah.
And so I think, the pendulum has swung so far in one direction. It's almost seems like everything that we spoke about through this whole podcast about how we've created a foundation to build our empires upon is so fucking fundamentally basic, right? And everything that has been taken us away from what is basic needs and ways of living, ways of thinking, acting, being are very, very simplistic. You can bring it down to those 10 commandments. There's 10 fucking things you need to remember in order to pursue life in the best way that you can, to be the best version of yourself and leave the place to a better version than what you found it, right? So yeah, I think the pendulum has swung so far in one direction that it seems like it's the autocorrect is like massive, but it is actually just coming back to like true north.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's nature sorting out what's going on. When we're out of line with our biology, nature will just course correct. Whenever there's a wound, it will seek to heal the wound. Most wounded part of human beings, of nature, is human beings. And we need something to move towards that. So when you move towards that, like the 10 commandments, your life just kind of is peaceful. And I think peace really is the order of the day with us, because conflict doesn't feel good.
Structure and discipline.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, I'm impressed. It only took 90 minutes for you to get your gold rollie in the shot, lad.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
I
want to wear it next time.
Impressive, bro. I'll count on your reels. I'm like, how many times can you get it in his reel?
Now I'm not gonna wear it anymore.
gonna go and light a cigar and fucking
Yeah, my man, my man.
We'll see
100%.
if that violates one of the 10 Commandments, what Lukey just said. We'll say.
That's it.
Don't be a prick to your mates.
You shall not covet. I think
We'll
isn't
add,
that
add an
you shall
11th
not covet?
commandment.
Let go of envy, focus on your own path, thou shalt not covet.
Hilarious. Gents, this has been very, very entertaining and thoughtful conversation. I really love the fact that we can do this. I would love to do it in person. If you're ever open to doing something together in 3D format, that'd be amazing.
That would be
Yeah,
great. That'd be a good laugh too. That'd be awesome.
For sure.
Right.
All right, boys. Until we meet and speak again, thank you once again for everything that you do. Thank you for having an impact on my life and the way that I lead myself. You guys have been a force for good as far as I'm concerned. So I appreciate you. And yeah, look forward to the next conversation.
God bless you, brother. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man. Take care.